For the third straight year, the Detroit Pistons have fallen to the 5th overall pick. The 5th overall pick, 3 straight years.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode. You know what? Screw it. I'm not doing the intro. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. I'm recording this right after the lottery results. It's literally 3:41. I don't know what to tell y'all, man. I just turned. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I turned the recording on. I don't even know where I'm gonna go with this. I don't know where I'm gonna go with this for three episodes or 3 segments. For those of you guys watching on YouTube, you guys can see Darth Koo has returned. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, on the audio, you guys obviously can tell by the tone of my voice that Darth Koo has returned. So the lottery just happened, and the Pistons fall to 5 again. A team like the Atlanta Hawks, who I believe had the 10th best odds, jumped all the way up to 1. The San Antonio Spurs again jumped up into the top 4. The Houston Rockets again jumped up into the top 3. And the Washington Wizards get number 2. While the Detroit Pistons fall to 5. I'm going to tell you guys this, man. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I'm ready yet to come out here and start hyping up a 5th overall selection again for the 3rd straight year. I just don't know. Just don't know if I got it in me. I mean, the Detroit Pistons have put every fan, every fan of this team, they've had to sit here and watch the worst 5-year stretch of basketball known to mankind. They have had to watch the worst basketball known to mankind for 5 years. And they've gotten a top 3 pick one time. Once. They've gotten a top pick one time. It was Cade. You want to know what other top picks they got during that time? Killian Hayes. Wonder what he's doing around. Jane Ivey, who might be traded this offseason. You want to know who went ahead of him? Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith, Keegan Murray. Then they fall to 5 last year. They get Asar Thompson, who I like. I was really high on Asar. But the draft they fell to 5 in was Victor Wembanyama. And I wasn't that high on Brandon Miller. Turns out I was wrong. Brandon Miller's freaking amazing so far. Missed out on him. And I like Asar, but Amen, I had Amen as the number 2 prospect in that draft. Missed out on him. And now this year, Pistons fall to 5 again. And they don't get to draft. I know, you know what? You know what the funny irony in all this is? The funniest thing about all this. The only person who might be more sick, I mean this sincerely, the only person that might be feeling more sick to their stomach than Pistons fans right now is Troy Weaver. Troy Weaver has come this close to getting that big man he loves multiple times. In 2021, Juan Evan Mobley got outvoted. Cade, I think it was the right pick. But Juan Evan Mobley, didn't get him. Didn't get Chet. Didn't get Paolo. This year he was so mad that he missed out on these guys. He even traded for James Wiseman, former number 2 overall pick. We see how that went. He traded for another big guy in Marvin Bagley. We've seen how that went. He has for 5 years tried to get this big guy that he so desperately wants. For 5 years, he's tried to do this. And yet again, at the top of the draft, it has Alexander Sarr, who's probably going to go number 1, I assume. 7'1" big man, defensive monster of a prospect. Has another chance with the top odds to get him, and falls to 5 again. The only person who might be more sick than Pistons fans is Troy Weaver. I bet you when Troy Weaver gets fired in a few weeks here, he's probably going to be leaving happy. He's probably going to be leaving with a smile on his face. I know he can't believe it. I know he can't stomach the fact that they for 5 years he's wanted a big man and hasn't been able to get the one he wants. For 5 years. I mean, this is just crazy, bro. For the Pistons for 3 straight years at the top overall, top odds, and fallen to 5 each time. I seriously don't know what to. I don't know what to say. Any pick but 5, bro. Any pick but 5. I'm looking at Tankathon. They got the Pistons taking Matas Bazulis at 5. Listen, I'm not going to say and try to make a comment on him because I haven't done any prospect, any scouting so far. I'm obviously going to have to get to it right now. I have to get to it from here on out. Now that we know where the Pistons are selecting, I'll be getting to it, and we'll start the draft episodes. But damn it, like I told you guys to start this off, it is about to be 3 straight years. I have to come on this podcast and try to, and I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. And it's not going to be just me. Pistons fans across the board, we're all going to do it. We're all going to come out here and try to hype up this 5th overall selection. Try and make it seem like this 5th overall pick is going to be is actually the greatest thing that could have happened. Did the same thing with Jane Ivey. And however you feel about Jane Ivey ain't Pablo. Jane Ivey ain't Chet. If the Pistons had Pablo or Chet, things would be so much different. Heck, if they had Jabari, who fits so much better with this team, it'd be different. If they had Victor Wembanyama, things would be so much different. If they had Brandon Miller, things would be different. And now this year, if the Pistons keep the pick, we'll talk about that later, but if the Pistons keep this pick, I have a sneaky feeling that in 12 months from now, we'll be saying, yeah, Matas Bazulis is fine, but he's not Alexander Sarr. He's not whoever goes ahead. 5 again, man. You can't make this kind of stuff up. You can't make this type of stuff up, man. I feel so bad for Pistons fans, man. I feel so bad for Pistons fans. Again, like I said, and then we'll move into the possibility of the Pistons trading the pick. Pistons fans have had to watch the worst 5-year stretch of basketball in NBA history. And they have been rewarded by falling to 5 3 times. One of the years getting Killian Hayes. 4 out of the 5 years. I'm so sorry for y'all, man. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, dog. When we come back, are the Pistons going to trade this pick? We'll talk about that when we come back. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest, most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. March is over, but the biggest moments in the NBA playoffs are on the way. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, college basketball entries today on PrizePicks, America's #1 sports fantasy app. And one of the things I love about PrizePicks is if one of your players gets hurt in the first half and doesn't return in the second half, that player is automatically rebooted. For those of you guys who know or are involved in fantasy sports, You guys know how big time that is, and that's why I absolutely love PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, so look, the Pistons have 5, man. Gotta deal with it. Gotta face reality. Gotta know what this is. They have 5 again. What's going to happen? I am going to tell you guys, I find it incredibly, I would say I find it unlikely the Detroit Pistons make that pick. I find it unlikely that the Detroit Pistons make the pick at 5. And the thing that hurts it so much, the thing that hurts it the most, is that I thought that the Pistons were likely to trade the pick at just about every position they could have got. The higher it went, the more unlucky that, or unlikely it would be that they trade it. But I thought there was a high chance they trade any pick. So the part that hurts the most, the part that will hurt the most, I feel like, is the fact, not that they're going to end up having to pick a Matas Bazulis. That's not what hurts the most. What's going to hurt the most, I can't imagine what they could get with the 5th overall pick. I can't imagine what they could get with 5. Like Ivy and 1, Ivy and 2, Ivy and 3, I think could have got you. Even in this weak draft, there will be someone that identifies a top prospect and they want to go get them. It happens in every draft. I don't care what anyone says. Don't listen to anybody. In every draft, no matter how weak it is, someone gets identified at the top of the draft that someone wants, and they go get that guy. It happens. And even in the weaker drafts, there is a gem that comes out every single time. So don't listen to that. The part that hurts the most is that at the 5th pick, that's the least amount of trade value you could get. It's the least amount of trade value you could get. So now I don't even know if the Pistons could trade Ivy and 5 for something. I don't even know if they could trade Dern and 5 for something. What could they get for Dern and 5? What could they get for Ivy and 5 in a weak draft? If you were offering Ivy and 2 or Dern and 2 or any of those combinations ahead, I think you got a higher chance of pulling a trade off. It's still, like we've talked about for weeks, it wouldn't be the value of trading the 1 in like a Wembanyama draft. You wouldn't trade the 1 in that type of draft. But you get what I'm saying. It wouldn't have been the value of that type of draft. But still, a top 3 pick has value. It has value, especially when you attach someone else with it. 5 in this week of a draft? I don't know, man. I seriously don't know what they could do with Ivy and 5 or Dern and 5. So is this more likely that they just hold on to Dern and Ivy, make the selection at 5, and then bring... Oh, my God. I'm thinking about this. I hope that oh, my goodness. Can you guys imagine a future where the Pistons bring back Cade, Ivy, Duren, Asar, Stu, that's 5, Grimes, Fontecchio, that's 7, Sasser, that's 8, this top pick, that's 9, and only add 1 person? That's 9 players I just named without a draft pick or any additions in the offseason. That's 9 players of your rotation. 9 rotation players from a team that just won 14 games. And then they just make 1 acquisition that adds to the rotation. If oh my goodness, I'm imagining it right now. If the Pistons walk into this upcoming season bringing back 9 rotation players from a 14-win team, or 8 players, let me say 8. 8 players back from a 14-win team, and what they add to it is the 5th overall pick in one of the weakest drafts we've seen. in one offseason acquisition, just brace yourself. If that's what ends up happening because of the look that they got, it's over, dog. It's over. I'll tell you guys this right now. I will tell you this right now. If that's what ends up happening because they fell to 5 and they can't find a good enough deal to move Ivy in 5 and Duren in 5, if that's what ends up happening, the rebuild hasn't started yet. The rebuild hasn't started. The rebuild will start once that trade request hits, and then you get the assets back for that. That's when the rebuild will start. Get ready if that's what they do. The rebuild hasn't started yet. You might as well get ready for an 8-year stretch of terrible basketball because that trade request will be coming in about 18 months. Like that's what will be happening. That's why that's the worst part of all this. It's not the player at 5. It's not the player at 5. I'm not specifically talking about the prospects. I don't know the prospect. I scouted the prospects myself. From a trade perspective, falling to 5, I have to assume was the worst possible thing that could have happened. Like, I'm looking at this tweet from friend of the podcast, Ant Wright. He's been on the podcast many times. He's a college. His whole thing is scouting the college basketball players. Big time college prospect guy. We have him on the podcast every year to talk about these prospects. He tweets this out. This is a perfect explanation. I've seen about 500 other people on my Twitter feed from outside Detroit say this exact point. But he says here, what did the Pistons even do with this dog water of a pick? Draft someone that's not ready to a roster that needs to get older? Or move the pick that has no juice and don't get much in return anyway? Like, it's the worst lose-lose situation of all time. Either you draft the dude who's too young to impact and you add another young guy to an already young team that just won 14 games. That's not going to help. Or you move the pick for a not very good return, it seems like. Like, which one? Choose the worst of two evils or the best of two evils. Like, that's where you find yourself in right now. The only positive, and this is the positive, I'm not really spending much time talking about this right now because the positive here is the same positive whether you had the first pick, second, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. It don't matter what pick you have. It's the same positive, which is maybe you find that gem. But you have that same excuse. You have that same reasoning with quite literally any pick you have in the draft. Maybe you can find that gem with that pick. So I'm not even going to spend time talking about it. Is it possible that the Pistons could have such a great scouting department? I'll ask you guys this. You guys trust that? The Pistons, every time the Pistons have not gotten the number one pick and gotten gifted Kay Cunningham, have you guys looking back at it, have you guys liked the Pistons scouting? Have you guys liked the Pistons draft picks over the last 14 years? I'll let you guys decide. But if you want to look at it, the most positive way possible, maybe the Pistons that fit, maybe in 12 months we say the Pistons walked out somehow with the best player from this draft and they found a superstar. Maybe that's what happens, and God damn it, hopefully that's what happens. God willing, that's what ends up happening. But outside of that, far off, hopeful thinking, this is like terrible. The other positive that I can see coming from this is, and the crazy thing is, even with this draft, I think we would have ended up doing this even if the Pistons stayed 1, 2, 3, or 4. I was going to say, at least we get to talk about more prospects on the podcast. But this draft has no guaranteed number 1. So even if the Pistons had number 1 or 2, I think we would have ended up talking about at least 3 or 4 guys anyways. I want to hear from you guys. What's your guys' thoughts, man? What's your guys' thoughts? When we come back, we'll hit on my final point with the Pistons falling to 5. Stay tuned for that. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, and with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. I've told you guys this many times. A few years ago when Michigan brought betting in and made it legal in Michigan, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to try out, didn't know what app to do. Tried out FanDuel. I haven't turned back since. I love FanDuel. I've used it for years now. Incredibly fun, super self-explanatory, a little too addicting for me, but it's a lot of fun. And there's so many things you can do on FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review. My last point with the Pistons falling to 5 is this. And it's funny. It's a funny thing. It's a funny point. I hope to make you guys laugh with this. It's not like the Pistons would be able to make any trades anyways. They don't have a president of basketball operations. So it's not like they can sit here, like, even if they were, I'm sweating about them having to make trades, what kind of value they'd get in a trade. They don't even know what value they get in trades. They don't even know what if they can even trade this pick. They don't even know what Ivy and a 5 would look like, what Dern and a 5 would look like. They don't know what any combination in 5 would look like because they don't have someone to make the decision. The lottery just passed. They fall to 5, the worst scenario possible, and they don't have a head decision maker to sort out what the possibilities are. Like, I don't. This is hilarious, man. It's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I hope the Pistons end up hiring somebody by the day of the lottery. Like, I hope that, or not the lottery, of the draft. I hope they end up hiring someone by then so they can at least have someone to make the pick at 5. And you would think that. And this is why the Pistons, after losing a record-breaking amount of games in a row, why they should have cleaned house right then and there. So they could have had a search for months. They could have got a new guy in. And they would have had months to prepare for this extremely important offseason. The most important offseason of this quote-unquote rebuild. This quote-unquote restore. The most important offseason. They don't have someone making the decisions right now. Drafts in a month. The draft's in a month. Or about a month and a half. Free agency is about in a month and a half. Obviously trades. And they don't have someone they still don't have someone. We don't have any reason to believe that person is going to be hired soon. So in the most important offseason in the last 5 years, I'm assuming the person they bring in is going to have what? Like at best, like 3 weeks? Heck, and it could be just a week. It could be just literally a week before the draft that they end up hiring somebody. Even a few days. But at the very best, I have to assume it'd be a few weeks they have before the offseason starts to really get prepared for what their exact plan is. Good luck, man. Good luck. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. And I hate to say this. I absolutely do. But I'm starting to get a little worried that in 2026, we'll be looking back at this 2024 offseason is what was the nail in the coffin. And that would be a sad, sad day, man. A sad, sad day. That's all I've got for you guys, man. Just wanted to get this episode out quick for you guys. Give you guys my brief reactions, my immediate reaction to the Pistons falling to 5, my quick thoughts. This wasn't some incredibly put together show. It wasn't like I was coming on here with 3 ideas, 3 segments back to back that all went. I just want to give you guys, like you guys are feeling right now, immediate reactions, immediate feelings, immediate thoughts, and just let it go. Just let it flow. So in the comments down below, even over on Twitter, in my mentions, in my DMs, it's a safe space. How are you feeling, Pistons fans? How are you feeling? Let it all out. Let it all out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Catch you guys later. Stay safe out there. Hit that subscribe on the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Till next time. I'll see you guys later, man. Stay safe out there. Peace.